Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you for your continued support. My appreciation and thanks goes to everybody who had given me a super thanks, bought me a cup of coffee, or sent me a DM or email. I'm embarrassed to say that due to recent events, my sudden health issues, and so forth, I have fallen behind on replying to email, but that does not mean that I do not appreciate all the time and effort you are putting into staying in touch. I honestly do, and your gifts and donations have truly helped support us during this rather difficult time. Thank you for that. Okay, so I've been putting this off, but the time has finally come where we rid ourselves of all the other frivolous nonsense surrounding the Harkles and the Royals and get down to what really counts. As introduction to this 2 to 3 part series, I want to quickly and simply explain the concept of the crown to those of my listeners who may not be all that familiar with the history and inner workings of the British royal family. Contrary to popular belief, the crown does not refer to only the king or only the king and queen consort or only to the king and those in line of succession. No. When we talk about the crown, we are talking about an entire organization, a business, an entity with many tentacles, many arms, many layers, varying degrees of expertise, and varying degrees of power and influence. There is, for instance, the Crown Estate, of which all the properties belong to the state, although some are used by the monarch and the royal family and managed by the royal household. Then there are things like the Crown Court, which in effect means the British judicial system, the laws of which are not determined by the monarch, but by lawful democratic procedure. When we talk about the Crown, we talk about committees, advisors, CEOs, courtiers, and many people with many and varying skill sets. The Crown is not just the king and the royal family. Now, once you understand that concept, you will also understand why Harry and Meghan's actions are so hurtful and damaging, and why there are people like some of us for whom the inner strife in the family is of lesser importance. Honestly, I don't care about William and Harry having a shuffle in the kitchen or whether they call each other Jack and Joe in private. What I do care about, and we all should care about, is the honesty and transparency of those who are in charge of these mighty and powerful institutions and organizations. And that, my dear friends, is why I care about and scrutinize the monarchy and why I give a fig about what comes from the likes of Harry and Meghan. It is also a fact of life that in any large and long standing organization, entity, or institution, there will be instances of dishonesty and corruption at some or other time. And the crown and the monarchy is absolutely no exception. One only needs to take a walk through the pages of history, recent and long ago, to know that this is indeed true. Now, let's say there is an instance of fraud and corruption in, say, a local bakery. Well, in that instance, it will only affect the 100 or 200 people who buy from or who do business with the bakery. Now, let's say there is an instance of fraud and corruption in a local bank. Well, then it will affect the 1,000 or 2,000 people who bank there or work there. But when we talk about the crown and one of the crown's arms or tentacles, namely the monarchy, well, then we are looking at an institution, an organization where dishonesty and corruption can potentially affect an entire nation and country, namely in this case Britain. But it does not only stop there, it can also affect other crown countries or then those who are part of the British realm, like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc. And ultimately, 54 Commonwealth countries and the relationships between these countries. Once trust is broken between a small business and its clients, the small business will eventually cease to exist. And eventually, if there is a need, a new one will be created. In the case of the crown and the monarchy, this is not the case. Even in politics, we are able to vote out or get rid of a corrupt or dishonest politician. But this is not the case in the general scheme of things when it comes to the crown and the monarchy. The leadership of the monarchy is determined by order of birth. So, to explain, let's say Charles was born with some mental or physical defect which made him unsuitable to become king. The first order of business would have been to determine the answer to the question, unsuitable for whom? Let's say he developed a personality disorder during childhood, but still remained a functioning human. Well, guys, then it would simply be too bad, so sad. Live with it because he was born to be king. We, the public, can't fire him and replace him with someone we like. We can criticize up to a point, but also do not have the power to threaten and depose the monarch. Yet, the monarch, under the auspices of the crown, can indeed threaten our very existence, and that is a fact. Okay, so a long, very long winded intro to a simple problem, really. Here we have a very powerful institution headed by a king and run by a rather vast number of mostly faceless individuals. An institution which is currently being threatened by the likes of a mentally deficient drug addict and his narcissistic bully of a delusional wife, the effect of which can affect an entire nation and country and 54 other countries and nations. Talk about the butterfly effect, wonderfully and openly illustrated on the world stage. Some of us may view this as nothing more than entertainment, but others who understand the role of Britain in the dynamics of many other countries and institutions across the globe realize that at some point a line has to be drawn in the sand. You cannot have a nation held to ransom by a guy who was not clever enough to pass high school without help and then went on to damage the rest of his brain with drugs. And then let's not forget his wife, who suffers from grandiose delusions and malignant narcissism. Unfortunately, we have by now also learned that neither the monarch nor his council nor his parliament is wise enough or strong enough to protect the country and nation they are supposed to serve. And therefore, it will be up to us to expose the evil and protect ourselves and obtain some form of justice if possible. So, I've been saying this for years now, ever since Harry and Meghan started dominating the headlines with their shenanigans. There is only one way to bring this travesty to an end and to get closure, and that is to once and for all completely discredit and humiliate them, and do it in such a way that there cannot be any argument for or against. For me, the answer and solution to the problem lies in the birth of Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor and Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor, because constitutionally, every single citizen of any country within the British realm and which has the monarch as head of state has the right to demand truthful answers to legitimate questions which exist around these two children who are currently included in the line of succession. So, as I said, very long intro, but I needed to explain to you why it is important for us at this stage, at this point in history, to find out the truth about Archie and Lily. So, in the next video, I shall take you through a process of search and elimination. I shall provide you with receipts. I shall provide you with testimony. I shall provide you with a downloadable document and or then a list of answers you can demand from the Crown, from Parliament, and ultimately from the monarchy, because it is your constitutional right. Okay, guys and girls, I'll be back very soon with the nitty gritty of our case. So until then, please take good care of yourselves. Bye.